Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have my very full and complete review of the Civivi Elementum Button Lock. I did an unboxing of this quite some time ago, but Civivi requested that I hold the review back until late June. It is now late June because they will be in stock probably sometime next week again. At the time I got it, they were all gone. They didn't want me to do a review. Well, nobody could buy one. So it is June 23rd of 2021 right now. Supposedly they'll be back in dealers probably next week or the week after. So keep an eye out for those. They are shipping out to dealers now. So look at your favorite knife retailer everywhere. Perhaps Knife Joy down below. You click on them and I get a little kickback. It'd be nice. But yeah, take a look. Anyway, yeah, really cool knife from Civivi, but I am happy that I had this much time with it to do the full review because it took me a while to develop a final opinion on this knife. It's a bit unique in one particular way. It is, by all intents and purposes, it is a button lock version of the Elementum. It's a bit larger than the normal Elementum, Civivi's best-selling model. So kind of understand why they would make it a little bit bigger. Put a button lock, sounds cool, but the way they executed it is a bit different, and we'll get into that more as we go on. That's why it took me a while to develop my full opinion. This is the more expensive $110 version with the marble carbon and the Damascus blade. There's also a blue marble carbon and Damascus blade, but there are several versions for 65, 66 bucks in G10 and micarta, a bunch of different colors. And yeah, I have no problem with the price at all. Definitely. I think maybe even the $110 one's the better value. I don't know. Just that carbon is gorgeous. The blade's gorgeous. Their Damascus is primarily 9CR18 MOV, which I have no problem with at all. I really like the look of it. And it does look basically like an Elementum, like you'll see when we do some size comparisons. But yeah, it has that button lock deployment, and only the button lock deployment, which is what we will talk extensively about. Let's do some specs and size comparisons. You have a blade length of 3.5 inches, overall length of 8 inches, bringing it much more into that kind of mid-size EDC realm where the previous one was kind of in between. You have a blade thickness of still very thin at 0.12 inches. You have a handle thickness of 0.44 inches and a weight of 3.2 ounces. So it's not shockingly light, but pretty good for a knife this size. Size comparisons, we're going to bring out our usuals and then we'll compare it to some Civivis and talk more about that. We have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2, very similar in length to that. And the Para 3, a little bit longer than that. And the usual Benchmades, we have the Benchmade 940 and the full-size Bug Out. So you can see much more 940 size, maybe just a hair bigger and quite a bit bigger than the Bug Out. And now let's bring out some Civivis and we'll talk a bit more. So we have been using these as standards for a little while now because you guys have so many Civivis. This is the ubiquitous Backlash from the original Civivi line of the original 3 and the regular Bug Out. So you can see it is quite a bit bigger. I'm sorry, Bug Out, Elementum. Bigger than the regular Elementum. Let's move this aside in the Backlash and let's talk more about that. Yeah, so you can see it is quite a bit bigger, a little bit slimmer handle actually, but longer. So yeah, and it doesn't have that same lanyard hole anymore. Not really sad to see that go, to be honest with you, but yeah, you can see. But this is a flipper tab. No flipper tab on that. Again, I keep teasing. We're going to talk a lot about that when we get to that section of the review. But the blade on it is great. Again, 9CR18 MOV, primarily the Damascus. I've had no issues with the Civivi Damascus. It's easy to sharpen. It holds an edge perfectly fine. This is darkened, so it does have a really super cool look to it. But yeah, it's a darkened Damascus, which is fine. Yeah, takes an edge really well. I have had to sharpen this one once because I have had it for quite a while, and it was perfectly fine. More of a touch-up than a proper, like, sharpen, but yeah, went right back to a screaming sharp edge. No issues whatsoever. I have no problems with that. It's still the Elementum blade shape, which I like that a lot. Just a simple drop point. 17 thousandths behind the edge, which is almost kind of thick for Civivi, but very, very thin and slicey and awesome. Yeah. Any other knife company would be like, wow, it's 17 thousandths behind the edge, but Civivi routinely has stuff, you know, in the 10, 11, 12, 13 range. So maybe not 10, but 12, 13, 14 range. Yeah, so not too bad. Ergonomics, also excellent. The Elementum's always had really good ergos. This is even better because it's just larger. You can feel that pocket clip a little bit. Nice deep carry clip, which is cool, but you can feel just a smidge, but you know, it's very flexy, so you can feel it touching your hand, but it's not really a hot spot or anything like that. No problems there. You can choke up if you want to. Similar to the regular Elementums, the same way. You can kind of choke up, but that's not really like a finger choil, but you can if you're doing something delicate. I wouldn't do anything heavy duty with my hand like that because I wouldn't want to slide forward onto the cutting edge. But yeah, ergonomics, really, really good. No issues there. And the carry as well, it doesn't feel any bigger in the pocket. Actually, it feels smaller in the pocket than the small Elementum because there's no flipper tab sticking out. Nice deep carry clip with the recessed screw, so there's absolutely nothing to catch on anything. And again, no pocket clip, so your hand slides right by it, and the weight is more than acceptable. So let's get to the final thing we talk about in these reviews, and it's something we're going to talk about a lot, the deployment method. So we're going to set this aside for a moment, bring out another button lock. Now, this is a ProTech Malibu. This is how most button locks work. You have another deployment method other than the button. This one happens to be a flipper, sometimes it's a thumb stud, whatever. You have another deployment method. And most importantly, if you just grab the blade, you can pull it open. On the Elementum, two different things. First of all, no thumb stud, no flipper tab. Button's the only way to open it. And you cannot open it without activating that button. Now, I'm not a lawyer, don't pretend to be. I don't know if there's legal issues with that. Where I live, there is no gravity knife law anymore, but I do think that some municipalities would consider this a gravity knife because you can't open it. You cannot open it without hitting the button. Is that going to be an issue? I don't know. I'm just still not 100% sure why they did that. I know when I first said it, why is there no flipper tab? Why is there no thumb stud? People replied, well, because you can't open it without hitting the button. Okay. But why did you make it so you can't open it without hitting the button? Other companies do it all the time. And Civivi has 2 new models coming out that are more like this. So I'm not sure why they went that route. I'm not a fan of it. In daily use, is it an issue? It's not an issue, but it is an inconvenience. And it's not just because if you're around normal people, you don't want to have to open your knife like that. You know, you basically just have to whip it out. Insert Blazing Saddles meme here. But it's not just that. It's just that it's not as reliable. Like, there are times when I just don't get it open all the way. And I'm not a fan of it. Does it really affect my daily enjoyment of what is otherwise an outstanding knife? I'm going to say outstanding knife. Yeah, it kind of does. To the point where would I not recommend it to somebody? No, but I'd sure as hell mention it. If somebody said they were considering this versus another knife, I would say, well, you got to be aware of that thing. You can only use the button lock to open it. And you got to be aware that you're going to have to, just be wrist flicking it, whipping it out all the time. And you can't open it any other way. I would definitely bring it up. Just wish it had a thumb stud. It's still a good knife. I'm not saying it's a bad knife at all, but it's one thumb stud and normal button lock deployment method away from being a slam dunk, outstanding, amazing knife of the year contender knife. But as it sits, it's fine. If you're a huge Civivi fan and a huge Elementum fan, I will say, my first impressions dealing with this, I thought, this thing's going down the road. After having it for a month or so, I've softened on that a little bit. I still don't think it's something I'm going to keep forever, but I'm not like in a hurry to get rid of the thing. You guys like seeing it in live videos, and you always ask questions about it. Maybe this will answer all those questions, and you'll stop asking. But yeah, it's just one. And I'm not a knife designer. I don't know what the difference is on the buttons that make it so it can or can't open without pushing the button. But it's whatever that is away from being a fantastic knife. Where right now it's good. It's good. And people love the Elementum so much. I just wish they'd have put, I wish they'd have done it to just make it that much better. And it's almost kind of more frustrating because they have 2 models coming that do operate like this. Will there be a future version of this that has a thumb stud or something? And maybe. We'll see. But yeah. And I don't know if there's a legality concern or not. I'm not a lawyer, but the way I read it, this is going to be considered a gravity knife in some states. So we shall see. But I do really like the knife. I'm not trying to totally bag on it. But yeah, it could have been great. It's just good. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one. Or maybe even a great one.